January 6th Capitol Hill attacks are still unclarified for us. We still don't really know what the hell happened there back on January 6th, but we are learning a little bit more today because there is a new report that has been put out by the Inspector General for the Capitol Hill Police Department that is telling us that the government is garbage. Let's take a look at what's going on here. This article came over first from CBSnews.com. It says the Capitol Police Inspector General slams the department's January 6th planning. Prior to January 6th attack on the Capitol, officials from the U.S. Capitol Police failed to act on intelligence that suggested protesters coming to the rally that day could be armed and plan to target Congress, according to a report by the department's Inspector General obtained by CBS News. And so this has been something that we've been talking about for a long time. We sort of foresaw this coming, right? We knew immediately after January 6th, in the immediate aftermath, that there were all sorts of intelligence problems. We saw that Mayor Bowser, I think on January 5th, had refused to accept any additional help from outside sources. She sent a letter out to authorities saying, we don't want any help. We got it covered. Leave us the hell alone. We know that the Sergeant at Arms of the House and the Senate both had some weird conversations about basically standing down because they didn't like the optics of this, right? We didn't like what this was going to look like on January 6th, and we were transitioning in, to a new administration, counting the electoral votes and all of that stuff. So as a matter of optics, they just declined to beef up security. And many of us are sort of scratching our heads going, why did that happen? Who was responsible for those decisions? Because we haven't, nobody's been found responsible for this. I mean, everybody's blaming Donald Trump for saying like fight like hell, which if you put that in context doesn't mean anything that the media labeled it to mean. And I guess he's responsible for it, but who's responsible for the security failures? Is it the Trump administration? If so, who? Who in there was responsible for it? Because it sounds like Mayor Bowser's in charge of the city. We also know that there are two different Sergeant at Arms people who are in charge of congressional security. We had the Capitol Hill Chief of Police resign, and on and on and on. The list goes on and on. We've had U.S. attorneys working on this case. FBI is working on this case. They're tweeting every day, where is everybody? We can't find anybody. Help us, help us, help us. Every day on Twitter because they can't figure it out. So what happened here? Well, now we know a little bit more from the Inspector General. The report, dated March 1, cites multiple, quote, deficiencies and the department's failure to disseminate intelligence from as early as December 30th that suggested protesters may be inclined to become violent. Findings from the report have not been previously published, and some lawmakers have been pressing to make them public, which I would like to see. We don't have the full document because they are not releasing it, because the most transparent administration, these people who are going to tell us everything that happened are not telling us. We don't even know how Officer Sicknick died yet. Okay, it's now March. Been a long time. We still don't know the answer to that. Says U.S. Capitol Police Inspector General Michael Bolton. He says USCP did not prepare a comprehensive department-wide plan for demonstrations on January 6th. His review was the first federal audit of the attack. This is this guy. So Michael A. Bolton, this fellow right here, on January 20th, 2019, he assumed responsibilities for Inspector General. Selected by the Capitol Police Board, he's the third individual to serve the department. Acting Inspector General from May 2018 and onwards, served 4 years as Special Agent in Charge, Office of Investigations for the U.S. Department of Treasury, where he primarily worked on cases of procurement fraud, complex and sensitive criminal administration and civil investigations. 21 years in the Secret Service, investigating bank and credit card fraud, as well as money laundering and counterfeiting cases. Holds a degree in criminal justice. So that's who we're talking about. And this is where he fits on the org chart. So we've got the Assistant Inspector General, different auditors, and it looks like he's up here. So we got the Office of Professional Responsibility in close parallel. All right, so we know who that guy is. Now let's figure out what he has to say about all this, because we all have questions, don't we? The report documented the department's failure to pass along relevant information obtained from outside sources, including a memo of the FBI's Norfolk division on the eve of the attack. That memo warned of, quote, potential for violence in connection with a planned Stop the Steal protest. It said that late in the evening on January 5th, Capitol Police intelligence officer pulled the memo from the system and emailed it around internally. IG said the department internally disseminated conflicting intelligence information in the days leading up to the 6th. Cites a daily intelligence assessment shared among the police that lists an upcoming event as Million MAGA March U.S. Capitol, rates the possibility of acts of civil disobedience as improbable. So our own intelligence agency can't communicate with themselves and comes to bad conclusions. So that's great. Despite a previous internal assessment from January 3rd that said the protesters' sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent. Congress itself is the target. Testifying in front of Congress on February, Capitol Police Chief Yogananda Pittman said the department was aware of extremist groups and would participate in a protest on January 6th and could target Congress, become violent. But she denied that the department received a credible threat for a large-scale attack on Congress. Yeah, because nobody wants to accept responsibility for this. Everybody's pointing their fingers. We've already seen this. U.S. Capitol Police say it's the Metro Police. Metro Police say it's the Capitol Police. Capitol Police say, hey, we warned you guys. It's a Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms said, no, we warned. Optics. And Mayor Bowser says, well, we don't even need the National Guard. So everybody's kind of doing one of these things, as is to be expected, because it's a gigantic, ineffective bureaucracy. That's kind of the whole point of the thing, right? We have, although we knew the likelihood for violence by extremists, no credible threat indicated that tens of thousands would attack the U.S. Capitol. Well, that's good because they didn't. It was only a handful of people, maybe 100 that were actually 300 who were charged. Nor did the intelligence received from the FBI or any other law enforcement partner indicate such a threat. Okay. The report also revealed inconsistencies in the Capitol Police's planning. Pittman and her deputy, Assistant Chief of Police Chad Thomas, told the Inspector General they intended to use the department's emergency response team to extract non-compliant violators and disarm protesters if necessary. But others told the IG they were not familiar with any plans to arrest or disarm protesters. So you have the people at the top saying, oh yeah, we got this plan. Yeah, Yogananda Pittman and Police Chief Chad Thomas. Oh, we got a plan. Yeah, we're gonna go out there and disarm the protesters. We're gonna identify anybody who's being violent. We're gonna deal with them. Okay, great. That sounds like a pretty good plan. Sounds like you're on top of this. They go to all of their underlings and say, hey, did you get a memo from Yogananda Pittman about going after protesters and disarming them, and like you have a plan in place for that? I have no idea what you're talking about. No, never got anything. Here's my email. Nothing in there, right? And they go, okay, so it's great that the leadership had it, but the people who were supposed to be executing and doing the work didn't even know about it. In her testimony, Pittman said Capitol Police did take steps to upgrade security, such as increasing the number of officers assigned to civil disturbance units, deploying counter-surveillance agents to monitor crowds, posting agents with assault weapons outside certain lawmakers' homes. Capitol Police also added bike rack barriers outside the Capitol and helped intercept and monitor radio communications. Pittman said, while the department was prepared to neutralize and remove individuals or groups engaging in civil disobedience or violence among demonstrators, it was quickly overwhelmed by the thousands of insurrectionists, many armed, who immediately and without provocation began attacking officers, bypassing physical barriers, and refusing to comply with lawful orders. Document said it was the first in a series of flash reports from Bolton, includes a timeline provided by the department, makes 8 recommendations for the department to implement, including recommendations that the Capitol Police train its personnel on how to better understand intelligence assessments. Or just read them, I guess would probably be a good one. The report also recommended that all Capitol Police officers and employees obtain security clearances to receive classified briefings. Unlike other agencies, are not required by law to publicly disclose reports by its Inspector General. Yeah, so isn't that nice? They get to investigate themselves, talk about the results of the investigation, and not disclose any of that to you or me. Special little carve out for those Washington people, isn't it? Those DC people. Very nice. In a bipartisan letter earlier this week, Reps Tim Ryan, Jamie Butler called for its public release and criticized the department for its lack of transparency. They say the report will be a vital step to help better protect the Capitol complex. In a statement to CBS News, U.S. Capitol Police said it made major changes to improve the flow of information to Congress and the public following the attack on our democracy. In an updated statement on Thursday afternoon, the department said it acknowledges it had internal challenges, including communication and inadequate training, which it is correcting. So that's good news. So total incompetence in addition to zero transparency, which is to be expected from the Washington people. So the question that everybody now has is, what's going to happen with the Capitol Hill police cases? We know that something like 300 people were charged. They're still trying to round up some additional folks. And there has been a little bit of a conversation about how the government is going to prosecute all these cases. We already know that the U.S. Attorney's Office is totally overwhelmed by an extra 300 or so cases. And so they need these 60-day continuances because they just can't get it. They can't get it together. You know, these are crimes of the century, like a trespass case, like somebody, there was a barrier, a line, you on this side of the line, you're lawful. It's okay to be here. Once you cross that, that's trespass. That's a crime. This is like mind-blowing for apparently a lot of the U.S. attorneys because they need like 60, 90 days continuances so that they can continue to investigate their case in order to prove that case for some stupid reason. But the question then has become, as we all know, this is a political prosecution. They are not being allowed bail. They are being held in custody in a way that is totally reprehensible. Other equal defendants, co-equal defendants with similar charges in similar situations and circumstances are being let out of custody, but the Capitol Hill people, because they're a threat to the democracy, are being held in custody without bond. No bail, no bond. Kyle Rittenhouse is on bond. Derek Chauvin's on bond. But these Capitol Hill people are not. Why is that? It's because it's political, obviously. So the question is anything going to happen about that? Is anything going to be done? Is there going to be leniency for the Capitol Hill rioters in the same way that many other people in Portland and elsewhere who are part of Antifa and BLM, are they going to get the same benefits that those other people got? Maybe. Looking like maybe, actually. Here is an article from Politico, and it says that there is leniency for defendants in Portland cases, and that could affect the Capitol riot cases. And it could, because we want equal justice, ideally, in this country. Federal prosecutors' show of leniency for some defendants charged in the long-running unrest in Portland could have an impact on similar criminal cases stemming from the Capitol riot, says lawyers. In recent week, prosecutors have approved deals in at least half a dozen federal felony cases arising from clashes between protesters and law enforcement in Oregon. The arrangements, known as Deferred resolution agreements or deferred prosecution, will leave the defendants with a clean criminal record if they stay out of trouble for a period of time and complete a modest amount of community service. Right now, this is very common in law. Happens all the time in probably your town, I would guess. Now, I don't know if every jurisdiction in the country has this, but I think most of them do. And basically the situation is this: if you go out and you do something wrong or stupid, the law is going to give you some leniency if it's a first offense, or if you have no real long criminal record. So when I say something stupid, I mean, we've all done it. I'm not being condescending. I've done plenty of stupid things. And so think about this like an old town crime or a 6th Street crime or a downtown crime or whatever district you have in your city. It happens all the time in these cases. Somebody goes out, they have too much to drink, they get a little bit drunk, they get a little disorderly, they get charged with disorderly conduct, or maybe even criminal trespass. They're asked to leave the bar, they don't leave the bar. Cops come, throw them out. Okay, now you have been trespassed, so now we're going to charge you with a trespass case, just like what happens at the Capitol building. And a very important trespass case, a big trespass case. It's an important building with a lot of security, so maybe you have some additional laws, but it's essentially a trespass case. It's not a Derek Chauvin case where we have to bring in 75 different experts from all around the world to tell us about arterial sclerosis, right? It's a trespass case. And so what they have done in the Oregon cases is said, listen, as long as you are in Oregon and diversion and the Old Town situation, as long as you are somebody who doesn't get in trouble again, you go take some alcohol classes, you go to anger management, you go and do some community service, you pay a fine, you pay some restitution, we're going to dismiss the charges. So we're going to stop prosecuting you. We're going to hold on to the charges, let's say for 90 days. We're going to give you 90 days, go do your community service, stay law abiding. Maybe they'll hold it out for a year in a case like this. And as long as you do that, we come back a year, we check your record, nothing happened, we're going to dismiss the charges against you. It's called diversion. It's a good deal. Reasonable. Something I think is very appropriate. I'm a huge fan of this stuff because many people who get in trouble with the law, they are first-time offenders because they do something that is out of the norm for them, out of the ordinary. So it's a good deal for these people who have been charged in Oregon, if it's reasonable. But I would like to see that same benefit extended to other individuals in this country, namely the Capitol Hill people. So some lawyers attribute the government's newfound willingness to resolve the Portland protest cases, without criminal convictions. They credit that to the arrival of Joe Biden and his administration in January and to policy and personnel changes. Those moves seem to step away from the highly public throw the book at them stance that Donald Trump had and William Barr adopted towards lawbreakers involved in racial justice protests after the death of George Floyd. 5 of the Portland cases in which deals were recently struck involve the felony charge of interfering with police during civil disorder. Some defendants are accused of punching or jumping on police officers during street battles, which sounds a lot like what happened at the Capitol building. One individual was charged after being accused of shining a high-powered green laser into the eyes of officers seeking to disperse a riot outside a police union building. Civil disorder cases are notable because the charge of police interference is also being wielded by prosecutors in dozens of criminal cases brought over the storming of the Capitol by pro-Trump people. In the Washington case, prosecutors have filed the felony anti-riot charge in tandem with others, like obstructing an official proceeding or assaulting police. Some of the assaults described in Portland bear similarities to the Capitol. Prosecutors said one of the civil disorder defendants, Alexandra Uton, used a wooden shield and hoses to strike a Portland police officer in the head while he was trying to make an arrest. So she got diversion for that? Several Capitol riot suspects are also accused of using riot shields to shove police and obstruct their efforts to secure the building from the mob. Another Portland case recently settled through deferred resolution involved Alexa Darren Graham, who was indicted last September on federal felony charge pointing a laser at a small plane the Portland police flew during the unrest. Court filing last month said the case against Graham would be dismissed if she complied with the terms of the agreement. Justice Department HQ in D.C. loudly touted the arrests and indictments related to last summer's unrest. A spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office said okay, so let's take a look at the actual deferred agreement here. So you can see this is the article that we want to reference. So we're looking at this woman's case. Another Portland case, deferred resolution, indicted last summer for the laser in the helicopter. Alexa Darren Graham. So let's go take a look at what she's got going on. So here we have, this was filed March 19th, page 1 of 2. Declaration of counsel in support of an unopposed motion to continue the trial date. So, okay, so here's what's going on. So the attorney is now saying, listen, I, Stephen Sadie, declare I represent this person. She's charged with one count of aiming a laser. Got that. This is the third request to continue a trial. Why is that? It's because we've reached a deferred resolution agreement. The agreement says it requires her to set her trial over to a date beyond the date on which her deferred resolution agreement will expire in December of 2021. So they're making these now 1-year agreements, which sounds about right. So deferred resolution agreement, she was indicted last September. Oh, yeah. So last September. So she probably entered that agreement a couple months later in March. So they're going to make it go 1 year from then. No. Okay. Anyways, so you can see what's happening. They're continuing her trial out. They're pushing it forward so that she can have time to finish her agreement. So they're going to move it. They're going to say that if she remains in compliance, the government will move to dismiss the case with prejudice. See that right there? With prejudice. That means it cannot come back. It's done. It's gone. It's over. It's solved. The ends of justice are served by granting this motion in order to resolve the case, basically waiving rights to a speedy trial. I've discussed this continuance with counsel for the government. No objection. I've communicated with Ms. Graham, explained the reasons. She agrees with the request for the continuance and waives her rights. Of course she wants it. It's a good deal. All she has to do is finish the case or finish her obligations, and she's done. Prosecutors were acting under authority of Eric Holder. They granted to assistant U.S. attorneys a decade ago to craft resolutions they considered appropriate. So there was an Eric Holder memo in 2010 that gave U.S. attorneys broad discretion on how cases are resolved. Former federal prosecutor, who's now a law professor at Loyola Marymount, said, undoubtedly, defense lawyers will point to everything they can to get the most favorable resolution for their clients. You better believe it. Now, one thing they can point to will be the deferred prosecutions in Portland. She's right. I've been screaming about this for the last couple months. Still, prosecutors in D.C. can argue what happened there is more serious, even if the physical altercations are comparable. Gertner said that many of the Capitol cases were headed for what she called a no-time resolution, meaning no prison time. She emphasized that offering a deferred prosecution with no criminal record like the Portland deals was really up to prosecutors, who may be reluctant to agree to them amid lingering outrage over the January 6th takeover. Yeah, they're politically angry. I can see the prosecutors not wanting to give them, and the judge can't, she said. There are already signs that the Portland deals could create contrasts or anomalies with the Capitol cases, while the Portland defendants now face no jail or criminal conviction in connection with assaulting law enforcement. Prosecutors in D.C. have sought pretrial detention in virtually all the Capitol cases involving alleged assaults on police. Two different standards of justice being enacted right now. Judges have indicated they are trying to make sure they avoid inconsistencies in the way they handle the hundreds of capital cases. It is less clear whether and how that principle will apply when comparisons are made with other cases. So let's take a look at that 2010 memo. We're going to fly through this. Old 2010 memo to all federal prosecutors. Eric Holder. The reasoned exercise of prosecutorial discretion is essential to the fair execution of criminal laws, decisions about whether to initiate charges. All right. This memorandum is to reaffirm guidance provided by those principles. All right. So we're going to skip over all this stuff. Sorry, Miss Faith. Thanks for clipping those for us, but we're going to skip over the Holder stuff. All right. And let's take a look at some questions now from watchingthewatchers.locals.com. First one comes in from Senavis91. Says, well, it seems like DC's leadership is trying to show that it's incompetent enough to be a full-fledged state. Yeah, there you go. If there's any argument for statehood, DC can just come out and say, look, we're as completely incompetent as every one of you other states. Okay, so let us in. That's a good point. We have next question comes from Hack Consulting. Says, I don't know. Us military people are supposed to investigate ourselves too. I don't see too much wrong with the military doing that to a point. Since we all hate the government, I don't need a date because the government screws me every day. That's right. That is right. All right. We got one last question before we wrap up the show for the day. We got Besamiento. The defendants should tell the judge that they identify as black and as Antifa and BLM. It's good defense strategy. I like that. And in fact, if they put their personal pronouns on their Twitter page, that's like a not guilty automatically, right? Judge, I got my pronouns. Z, zim, zer, all right? Not guilty. Right there. Prosecutor, get him out of here. Bailiff, release that man. Or Zer. Release Zer. All right. All right. So great questions from watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And I want to thank everybody who asked those and who participated in the show today, as well as those of you who didn't. That's all right. Still love you all. Thank you to all of you who are supporting us. And let's take a big shout out to all of you who asked questions today. Look at all these people highlighted. Look at this new thing. We got Pinky 2. We got Sharon Quidney. We got Chairman of the Board. We got Liberty or Death. We got Hack Consulting. What's up? Want to know. We got NY Renal MD in the house and Bacon Seeds all chiming in to say hi, along with underscored Shades, No Doubt in the house, Nadar Blasier, Big Dog, Quadruple 11, Carolina Flying. We have Aunt Deb who said hi. What's up, Anki Woe? What's up, Blaster Brain? We got Norovira in the house. We got Bianca Realty. What's up, Bianca? We got Just Luke. We got Spoiler. We got McWaffle, Baranski, Ian from Oz. We got Justice. Look at all these people talking today. My goodness. We got new people who signed up too. It's a free-for-all bonanza today. We've got Jim Phoenix. Oh, that sounds intriguing to me. Todd Trott joined up and asked some questions today. What's up, Todd? Welcome. Thank you for joining up. We got Murder of Crows. Welcome. We got At Rags. Welcome to you. Denny Ray is now in the house. We have Claire DeLuna who chimed in. Welcome and join. Thanks for joining us. We have The Pie Baker. That also sounds good. Maybe get some pie and then go hang out at the Jim Phoenix. Look at that. We have Doodle Doo in the house. Welcome. And we have, look at these. We've got a lot of active new people. We have the National Populist who signed up and chimed in today. Welcome to Lassie91. Bessa Mento, welcome to the show. We have Roy McKay, and we have Senavis91 and John Delar 52. We got a lot of activity on our locals community. It's the place to be. I mean, if you're not there, I don't know what the heck you're doing with your life, but you can change, you know. You can decide, I'm going to be better today and join locals. The place to do that is at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can see we're trying a new format out, and Miss Faith is watching this right now, and she's noticing that this area is now being covered by my block. And we want to move this little section down here and this little text over here so that it doesn't get cut off when I am picture-in-picture mode. So that's what we were trying to solve. It's an iterative process, right? We're going to try again tomorrow and see if we can get that ironed out. But that is it for the show, everybody. It has been a long one, almost going on 3 hours today. We had a lot to get to. We got a lot more to get to tomorrow. We're going to keep barreling through on the Chauvin stuff. So thank you for joining us. We're almost at the end of that case. Then we're going to transition to the next one. So we want you to be a part of that. So join us at our locals community, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and subscribe on YouTube if you have not already done so. We'd very much appreciate it. And there are some other reasons to join us on Locals. Almost forgot about them, but here they are. Get a copy of my book. It's called Beginning to Winning right here. You can download a free PDF over on locals.com. You can also get a copy of all the slides that I just went through. If you want any of that material, it's available for you there. Download a copy of my impeachment party document. That's there. Copy of my existence systems program. Getting super close to the launch of this program. I'm pretty excited about it. And we can also share links and conversation and meet with great people throughout the day. There's a lot of good stuff going on throughout the day, and I want to invite you to come and join us over there. As I said, it's the place to be. But before we get out of here, one last final note. I am a criminal defense attorney here at the R&R Law Group. We're located in Scottsdale, Arizona. We handle all criminal cases in the state of Arizona. Anything. As long as it's here, we can cover it. Things like DUI, drugs, domestic violence, all of them. Okay, there's a lot. Active cases that we can help. We can also help with closed cases. So if you have an old warrant that you want to quash, something, if you're a Dante Wright situation, you have an old warrant, hey, forgot about that court date. Well, we can help you deal with that so that you're not being stopped on the side of the road and potentially arrested with your girlfriend in the car. So we can help you solve those cases. We can help you restore your rights, get your right to vote back, get your right to possess a firearm back, clear up, expunge old records, remove mugshots from the internet. There's a lot we can do. There's a lot of value in having a clean criminal record and staying free, right? Staying free in this country and participating in our democracy. So if you know anybody who needs help in that capacity, we have a mission here to help good people who have been charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and in their lives. We would be honored and humbled if you sent your referrals our direction. We'll make sure that we treat them well and that they leave our office better than they found us. Give them a copy of my book. Make sure that even if they don't need our help, right, that they got something. They got some direction, some information that they can use to solve their issue. Because if you have this stuff hanging over your heads, you may know this, right? You have a speeding ticket hanging over your head. You have this stuff floating around. It is a big load to carry. And there are people out there who want to help, and that's us. So if you know anybody, we'd be honored and humbled. I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, we're going to be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. We're going to be covering Derek Chauvin, Kim Potter, whatever else happens to crop up. Hopefully nothing new. We got enough to cover, but we are going to dive in hard, as we always do. We want you to be a part of that. So come back on and join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. Arizona time, which is Pacific time, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central in Texas, and 7 p.m. on the East Coast for that one Florida man. Everybody, thanks once again for joining us. Great comments. Had a lot of fun today. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.